you want to ride on the frozen lake and take corners like this, and like this, you're going to need some ice tires. Even though the tires provide an insane amount of traction, they do have their limits. I like to ride the bike in the wintertime on the ice. I don't really attend any races, but I just like to go out there and mess around with my buddies. Plus, it allows us to ride the bike in the off-season, or I guess some people might consider that the season. So that's a win. My end goal for this video is just to show you how those professional ice tires are made. My first set of tires were made by Joe, a buddy of mine in his garage. Nothing professional, that's for sure. They were a hodgepodge of cut-up tires, anti-fatigue floor mats, drywall screws, ice screws, and maybe some other stuff too. I know at the time one of his big things he was using on his ice tire builds was fire hose as a liner between the tire and tube. These certainly got me riding and I had a blast on the ice, but there was a lot left to be desired. And to be totally honest, a rider with more skill than I could certainly do better with those tires. I think this is footage of me on those original tires. Also, you can see that first tire I ever rode that Joe made in this photo. You'll notice that there are two different types of screws used, and if I remember correctly, that's because that's all we had at our disposal. Maybe, I don't remember. The center screws are Marcel Fournier 44s, and the side ones appear to be Fredets. Anyway, the center screws were far more aggressive and certainly allowed for some serious traction in a straight line. Fast forward a few years, and now I've spent the long dollar for the professionally built ice tires. The ones I currently own are made by a gentleman named Marcel Fournier out of Canada, and from what I can tell, they're some of the best money can buy. At somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 a tire, they're certainly not cheap, but you get what you pay for. And that little history lesson brings us to what I really want to show you, and that is what his tires look like and how they're made. I wouldn't normally destroy a $400 tire to show you what it looks like, but that ship has sailed. When I went to install this specific tire on the rim, I broke the bead, turning the tire into a piece of junk immediately. I did ride it for a few laps because after all I did go through all that trouble to mount the tire before calling it quits because I could see it pulling away from the wheel and getting ready to let go. I really wanted to ride, but obviously with a broken bead it could mean disaster for the bike and possibly my body. Plus, you gotta understand that these tires weigh a ton because of how they're built, so that's a lot of rotating mass waiting to explode in my situation. This is definitely a lot of work that goes into it. So it's 1, 2, 3, basically 3 tires in one. So he's using a Pirelli MT44, which I don't think you can really get anymore. It's kind of paddle looking, and something else that's worth noting is it is shaved. He has spent quite a bit of time profiling the tire before he even puts it together. So again, 3 tires in one. So this is the outside, the carcass, and I didn't count the screws when I took them out, but there's a big trail mix bin full of them. This is the one that was touching the actual dirt bike tire. Clearly it's the front tire of a road bike. And again, the profile of this has been shaved and contoured as well, so you know, you can see the nylon here. He's done a very good job. Seems like a lot of time has been spent. Also, both liners have been cut with what looks like just a utility knife. I'm not sure if it aids in just the, you know, simplicity of actually assembling it or what, but this is the second liner. This is the one that actually touches the MT44. And then the one that touches your tube, as all the other ones, he's done a fantastic job contouring it. You can see as it sits on the table, it has a very nice lip. So inside the tire, your tube doesn't really have any pressure points. Your tube sits against something that is completely cylindrical all the way around. I guess if that makes sense. Tangent would be the right word. Again, like I showed you the slit, I can only imagine it just makes it easier to assemble. But I mean, look at the time that's been spent shaving and shaping. This does, I don't know if this is natural, like naturally occurring with just a worn out tire, or if this is actually contoured. This sort of looks like an oversized Supermoto tire, but I would assume this is probably untouched. There is a radius to it, but it looks normal, as if it was on a motorcycle. So again, 3 tires in one. It's extremely heavy. The other thing I want to make note of is that these tires are perfectly sized to step into the next one up, respectively, without being cut. So each one of these was in there as a whole tire. He didn't actually, you know, have to cut it and then overlap or expand. So again, you know, the attention to detail that he puts in these tires is just unreal. I don't know if he goes through the trouble to actually like tape and measure their circumference or what, but they perfectly fit inside of the next one up without any bulging or any space to be filled.